We are back. Welcome to video 2 of our 3 video series training. We are really excited to have you here, and hopefully you have watched video 1. If you haven't, you need to go back and watch video 1. The videos build on each other, so it's really important that you see video 1. And we have been so excited about the responses that we're getting. It's just been really amazing. Like, people are sending us emails and writing in the Facebook group, and they're hashtagging reader and showing us what movie they picked. So if you haven't done that, definitely do that. Go in there, hashtag reader in the Facebook group. The link is on this page, and let us know which movie you picked. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then that means you need to go back and watch video 1. So in video 1, we basically answered the question, what is a reader? So even if you know what a reader is, we really highly recommend that you go back and watch video 1, because we get pretty deep into the details of that. Basically, a reader is someone who gets hired to read screenplays. So producers, writers, directors, actors, production designers, everyone that is involved in movies needs to decide what movie they would like to do next. There's no possible way they can weed through all of those screenplays, and that's where a reader steps in. So that's the basic definition of a reader, but there's so much more to it than that. So if you go back to video 1, you can kind of see the more in-depth questions, and then you can understand what we're talking about. So welcome to video 2. Today in video 2, we are going to dive even deeper into the career paths that you can have once you know how to do this. So there's just so many ways you can go once you have this skill. Basically, everyone in Hollywood has some understanding of how to break down a screenplay. Readers have it to the just really detailed degree, because producers rely on the reader to have that kind of skill in order to help them choose a screenplay. Producers have a lot of variety of skills, and so like some are more adept at the financial part, and so they're relying on the reader to really understand breaking down a screenplay. So there are so many ways that you can go once you have this skill, that we wanted to really kind of give you an idea of what that's like. We covered this in the masterclass just very briefly, so we wanted to dive in a little bit deeper with that today. So basically, there's so many ways to approach a script, right? So if you're an actor, actors take a whole different approach. We have a lot of trainings, and so we kind of cover these in different areas, but like an actor approaches a script in a much different way than a producer, in a much different way than a writer, in a much different way than a story editor, or screenwriter, development executive. There's just a lot of different approaches. So we try to cover all of these different approaches in a lot of different ways. And then we bring in other people to talk about their approach as well. So like, for instance, we learned that our screenwriters, a lot of them have written a book, and so we talked about adaptations, and we brought a woman in who is an expert at how to get an agent if you've written a book. So we're not just talking about script reading with our whole Hollywood Gatekeepers, Hollywood screenreader programs. We are talking about every aspect of that, because we have so many people that are interested that we are accommodating all of these different perspectives. So she was amazing and came in and gave just really concrete, here's step 1, 2, 3 to get an agent for a book deal. Really cool, right? This week we have someone coming in who is a producer of independent films. He also happens to be a cinematographer, so he's going to talk about his approach when he reads a script, and he also uses readers. So he's going to talk about his approach and how he brings on readers, how he tests them. So he has some really cool tests that I think will be really cool to share. So we're doing all of that in our screen readers, on our screen readers platform. So basically, we have many ways to learn. We have Hollywood Gatekeepers, which is our free Facebook group. Come in there. We do weekly trainings in there. We do a lot of free handouts. We do the free masterclass. We have a lot of free content. We do have a paid screen readers course that you can join, and you can kind of, we call it the bullet train method, where you can learn all of every little detail that you need to know through the course. However you'd like to learn, totally up to you. We're fine either way. We love doing the trainings in Hollywood Gatekeepers, and we love doing the things in Hollywood screen readers. So those are kind of the different ways that you can learn with us. So basically, we have guests that come into both. We have a lot more guests that come into screen readers, but we do a lot of free trainings and we have guests in Hollywood Gatekeepers as well. So Kathy did come into both. So she was the book agent expert. So you can go onto our Facebook page, and Facebook group, and you can kind of look in there. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, the link is here. Definitely need to do that. So those are just some of the ways that we kind of make sure that you get the information that you need, because everyone is different. We have no idea. We know you're creative. We know that much, or you wouldn't have found us. So basically, we want to try to help you, and we're going to really dive into that today to help you figure out what path you would like to take. So we're going to do that by kind of covering the path that a script takes. And we have 3 ways that we approach the whole reading process. We have 3 elements that we feel are very important. We talked about the first one in our first video, which is being a champion for writers. Like really, I started championing, being a champion. I can't speak today, but being a champion for that writer. Maybe you can come in the Facebook group, you can show me how to talk. But basically we want you to really have respect for the writer. That's what the whole exercise was about in the first video. You know, it's really important to us. Today we're going to talk about the second element, which is also being a support system for producers, right? Producers are amazing. The most common person that will have a reader is a producer because they get the most submissions. So they are the amazing, classic, incredible plate spinners. They are a circus act all in of themselves. Because a producer is the person that's overseeing everything. The finances, how to get the finances, how to bring on actors, how to hire that director that can get good actors, where are the locations, what can we afford, what are the rules of the location, what streets do we need to close? I mean, they're down to every little detail, like what time do we show up? Like they are running the show. You know, the director is the artistic person that's running the show, and the producer is the business side that's running the show, basically. I'm really generalizing things. I mean, they all kind of intertwine, but the producer is the one who's ultimately responsible for the movie getting made and making money. So they have millions of dollars at stake, right? So if they have a producer or a reader that they can really rely on, if they know, hey, you know what, get so-and-so's take on that because I know that they're going to understand, you know, what the script's about and what we're after. So if they have someone like that they could just call on to give them a good, solid, honest coverage, that's gold to them because it saves them their most precious resource, which is time. So if you can become a reader that's a really solid resource, or for an actor who knows that they can trust you to read a script to help them determine what role to play, huge, right? So we want to take you through the path of a script so that you can kind of determine for yourself, what is the role that you would like to play? Where do you want to head with this? There's many different ways you can go. If you decide now where you want to head with all of this, then it's going to make all of the trainings, everything just way more meaningful, way more fun, way more successful. So we want to get you on that path, like right from the gate, right out the gate, because we're gatekeepers. So basically, there are 4 elements to production of a movie. So the first one is development. That is all about the script. It's developing that script. So development is a development office. There's development directors, like it's in the title of people's names, where they're developing this script. They're taking the script, the reader's reading it, going back to a development director. So there's some studios have many development directors, some have one. Some development directors are also producers. That's very, very common. Sometimes a development director will develop a script and just do that. And sometimes, and I don't mean just like it's minimal, I mean just like that's their only focus. Just like sometimes I'll say if you just want to be a reader, I don't mean like that's a small thing. It just means that you focus on specifically that thing. So some development directors focus on that thing. Some of them focus on that thing and then get producer credit because they get so involved in the project. So that, you know, there's also story editors. Those are people that are typically kind of the middle person who's the liaison between the writer, the reader, and the producer, and the development director. They're sort of the hub. So they kind of help. They know the readers really well. So they'll say, oh, we should have this person look at this. Like they're really, really good at that. And then they'll also sometimes be the person that they get notes from everybody and they're taking all these pages and putting them together into a screenplay. Sometimes they're the ones that oversee that project. So that is a job that you can go into once you've become a reader. If you're super organized and you like people and you like the hustle and bustle of it all, that's a really good job for that. Many story editors move on to become producers. That's a very common route because it's organizational skills, basically, I think. I just have seen, actually, every story editor that I have worked for is now either is producing or doing marketing. Like that's another, they get very involved in that as well sometimes. So every office is different. You could hear different kind of examples of this from different people. There's many different definitions of this. My way is not the only way. That's one of the things I love about this business is like there's no one way. There's however many people there are that make movies, there's that many ways to get it done. It's very much pave your own way, figure it out yourself. So, don't take my word as being the golden rule, and if you know of another way, I'm not saying this is the only way. So just want to make sure that that's clear. So you've got development, right? Then you move into pre-production. Pre-production is where elements start to come in, like, the director comes. Sometimes these things will start to happen in development, especially like directors and actors. Sometimes writers will come in and they'll have an actor already attached to their script. So if you're a writer and you can find an actor who's, especially if they're well known, that will say, oh yeah, I'll be in your script. If you can present it that way, it's a huge in. Like, it means that you're kind of doing some producing work as well. You're kind of getting some balls rolling on your own. It means you've got gumption or moxie or whatever you want to call it. But basically, when pre-production starts, that's when all the other elements start to come on board. Costumers and designers and cinematographers and all these people start coming on board. All of those people, right, need to decide what movie that they want to do. So you don't typically hear of reading in this way, but I've read screenplays for people that work in costumes. I've had many people in different areas say, hey, can you take a look at this project? I'm trying to decide if it's something I want to get involved in. I've had cameramen ask me that, like, can you take a look at this and what do you think? Should I do this? So that can be if you have a love of costuming, or casting directors, that's another one. They have to decide which projects they want to choose and do and cast and that kind of thing. So there's a high chance that you could niche, or kind of hone it down into the thing that you love the most. So I want you to kind of come at it from this perspective that there's just so many ways that you can go, right? So that's all pre-production. So then it moves into production. And also in the pre-production, things can change. Like, for instance, they can say, hey, we're thinking of moving this to a different location, or shooting in a different place, or it's set in Russia, but we're actually going to shoot it in Los Angeles. Like, these are some of the things that happen, and that can actually change the script sometimes. And if you have, so this is like a huge tip, but if you become a reader that a producer really relies on, you could be someone where they'll ask you your opinion, because what happens is with development directors and producers and people that are really involved in the project is the reader is about the script, right? You are focused on that script. Producers are putting together a Lego, it's a box of Legos, and they're pushing it all together. So if they're starting to change locations, or they're changing, they have this name actor who's 20 years too young or too old for the role, it's like they'll start to make those kinds of changes. Sometimes if you are this kind of reader that they really start to rely on, and I've had people do this where they'll say, I'm too close, I can't decide if moving this location helps this project or hurts it, or does it matter? And if they have a reader that they can rely on, where they say, what do you think in the terms of the overall project? A lot of development directors will weigh on this as well, and producers argue about these kinds of things all the time. So do directors, everybody does. But you can be that person where, because you're not close to it, you're not producing it, you're not on the set, you're not in that world. So you can say, in terms of the script, it doesn't matter. So save yourself some money and don't, shoot on the moon. Like, it's like, you can be that person that's like, or you can say, you know what, from the script's perspective, that would be amazing, so you can kind of be that voice of reason that has nothing to do with the overall production. So just having that sounding board can be huge for a producer. And so often they'll lean on people that they start to work with and start to trust in that way. And so you can also move up and I say move up, to me it's not because that's how it's referred to, is that you're moving up into development or producing, because technically, well, for one, if you become a producer, you can make millions and millions of dollars. So yes, that is a move up. And then because it's a reader gets paid per script, and we'll cover this in the masterclass. But as you move into other roles, and you can make a solid living reading scripts, script by script, but if you're moving into kind of these bigger roles, that's when you can really start making more money. The other role that you can move into is working specifically with writers. So you can start to become a consultant. That's the role that I took, because I just love writers. They're such a great mix of introvert, extrovert. They're so dramatic and yet so nerdy, and I just love them. So I love that they are so they're just empaths. Like they have this understanding of people, I think, in ways that regular people don't understand. They have a way of taming all those voices in their head. So if you're a writer, like, I totally get that thing. So I just love writers. So I moved into coaching and consulting, which I've been able to make a living at. And you can do that. You can move into coaching and consulting where you're making, you're getting paid per project, and it can be really a cool way to go. So you can stick as a reader, and you can do that part-time. If you have something else that you're doing, you can do that as a side thing. Or you can move into development where you're actually working with the writer and that kind of thing. So like I said, clearly there's a lot of ways to go. So after you go to pre-production, then you move into production. And in production, now we're on the set, we're shooting the things that it's all about. The reader doesn't really have, they're not involved in production but there is a job that often some readers get into, and that's script supervisor. So script supervisor will be on the set. You see them in the stills. They're like crouched literally under the camera. They're in the thick of everything. You'll see them in the still shots. You'll see like the directors and the actors, and you see this one person off to the side who's usually carrying this gigantic notebook. They have the script, and that has all this stuff hanging off at pens and highlighters and timers, and because they are responsible for continuity. They're there for the actor if they forget their line. It's a really high pressure job, and it's one of those things where if they get confused about where they were or what's going on, they all turn to the script supervisor. What happened? And you're like, ah! So I did it once, and that was enough for me. I didn't care for it because for one, I'm too writer distracted. Like I couldn't focus well enough, and I just would get too into whatever the actors were doing, whatever. Like I can do it as a producer and do it, 50,000 foot view, and I can notice really small details and be aware that way. But when it was that specific thing, I didn't really care for it myself. But if you are super organized and you want to be on the set and in the thick of it, that's amazing. You travel with wherever they go. It's an amazing job. So that's production. Then we move into post-production. Post-production, that's when it gets edited. They add sound, they add color, they have all the little details. Like that's when, they start testing it. They make sure that everything's working. Readers are not typically involved in that. So there's also script coordinator, which is more of a television thing where they coordinate new drafts of, they have teams of writers in television often, and so a script coordinator will kind of coordinate all of those teams and that kind of thing. So that's a whole nother path we could go down. But I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of some of these jobs. There are others, and then producers, there's easily 5, probably more like, there's just a lot of different types of producers, associate, executive, line, supervising producer. There's so many different types of producers. So there's just, and they all have a kind of more specific jobs that they do. So there's just so many routes you could go, right? So we wanted to help you kind of know what this path is of the script, know what some of the kind of very generally, like what the ideas are of how you can go about this career. So that now as you start forward and learning the process of how to do this, you have kind of an end game in mind. So our exercise today, part of our handout. So what we've done is we've updated the almost said Act 1 because that's how we teach in the course, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. But for the first video, we did an exercise. So we've updated the handout to include the exercise for today so we can kind of help keep you organized right out the gate, monologuing you. And then, as my son would say, and then we've added the exercise on for today. So here's what we would like you to do for today. So if you haven't downloaded the handout, you can pause. Kidding. I'll wait here. And then you can download the handout and then come back to us, or you can just kind of make notes and then add them, whatever, however you want to do it. You're a grown adult. So basically what we would like you to do is we're going to teach you this amazing tool, and it's called the Success Path. And so the Success Path will help guide you from where you are now to where you want to be, basically. Very simple, right? Except we have a few tools that we can give you within that. So in the Success Path, basically, it's like a board game, right? We're going to take you from start to finish. And so what we'd like you to do is our first step in the Success Path is kind of determining where are you now? What's going on now? What's happening? What's happening? So let's write down like maybe all the things that are just smoking, that you're happy with in your life, that, and we're speaking primarily career, but it definitely, bleeds into everything. So where are you at? Are you feeling, what are the things that are good? Are you, what are the things that you're happy about currently with your career? Do you feel satisfied? Are you liking the position? Do you like the people you work with? Like really kind of think about all the good things, because there are good things no matter where you're at, although 80% of people, it's like 82% I think, are unhappy in their current job, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this. So, what are the things that you are happy with? Even if you're unhappy in your job, usually there's some things that you like. And then what are the things that you're dissatisfied with in that job? Do you feel like you're stuck or stagnant, or you're not moving up, or, do you not, your boss is like, you can't stand the people you work with, like what is going on there? So like, kind of let's do a pros and cons sort of where you're at, okay? And then I'm gonna skip to 3 to explain it to you, and then we'll move back to 2. So there's 3 steps in your success path. And so number 3 is where are we headed? So, flash forward to a year from now, like literally write down today's date and next year. Like it's today, this date, and it's the following year. And then right from that perspective, today I did what? What did you do today? Like where are you at? Where would you like to be? And then let's do that same thing in 5 years, right? Wayne and Garth. Woo. So where are you at 5 years from now? Like what's going on today? So this happened, if you have children today, I picked them up from high school as opposed to middle school or whatever, like let's see where you're at and what's going on in your life. And then, oh wait, I wanted to do 3. So I'm sorry, do 1 year, 3 year, and 5 years, right? Ease your way up to that 5-year point. So what's happening today? What's happening 3 years from today? And what's happening 5 years from today? Where do you want to be? Have you written your screenplay? Are you an actor now? Have you appeared in a movie? Do you want to be, so sky's the limit, right? Don't hold back. Like, what are the things that you really want? Even if you have absolutely no idea how this could possibly happen, it doesn't matter. Write it down. What the heck? It's an exercise. Who cares? Just write it down. All right, so then we want to go into this phase, into the second step. I keep going acts and phases, this habit. But the second step is basically, start writing down the ways that that you might get to number 3. So what are you going to need to do in order to get there? What are you going to have to let go of? For one, like fear, procrastination, like what are the things that you're going to have to let go of? And then also, what are the questions that you need to ask? So if you want to be a casting director and you have no idea how to be a casting director, what question do you need to ask? And I really feel passionate. I've heard this many times, and I feel very passionately about the fact that your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask. So I don't mean if you want to be a casting director, that your question is, how do I be a casting director? It's like, where do they work? Do they work online? Where's the office of the casting director? Who are the casting directors? How many casting directors are there in one project? Like, break it down. What are all the questions that you have about that thing? Because someone's doing that thing. We like to pretend in Hollywood like it's some big mystery. It's not. There are people doing it. So if they're doing it, why can't you be doing it? There's always someone. We're so fortunate that people pave the way, right? And they tell their stories. Once they've paved the way, most people, Paul Haggis came in and talked to us about how he got his start. Like, most people like to pave the way. They like to tell their startup story. They like to know that they're inspiring someone else. I mean, he basically is Canadian, Paul Haggis, and he wrote Crash, $1 Million Baby, and he was working on a construction site with his dad, and his dad actually said to him, you kind of stink at this. You should go to Hollywood and try writing. Right? Like, what parent does that? Great story, right? And so he did. He's Canadian, working construction, has no idea. He said some bad place. That's his words, not mine. So he had kind of been dabbling in writing, and he decided to go for it. It is not a mystery. It's like figuring out what it is you want in step 3, who's already doing that thing, and what questions. If you could sit down with Oprah Winfrey, what would you ask her about how she got where she is, And I guarantee you can, especially with her because she's so enormous, we can find out, her path is pretty public. But, you can dig deep into someone that directed a favorite film of yours if you want to be a director. You can dig deep if you have cinematographers that you can look at. How did they make their way? We're having one come talk to us this week. So it's like, this is not a mystery. This is something that you can do, and we want to help you do it. So what are the questions that you need to ask? What are the things that you want to know? Now you've got, where you are, you have the tools and the tools. That's another one. Like, what books should you read? Like, what are some of the tools that you could use to find out? Google is a main tool, right? We're a tool. Like, what questions could you ask in Hollywood Gatekeepers that we can answer for you? Like, what are the questions? Get those good questions. And then where will you end up? This is not goal setting. This is not, to me, it's not like, by May, this is not that. This is like, we are just figuring out, we're easy about it. We're not like, we want that kind of determination, but it's not like this kind of clenching onto it. We're being easy about it. We're saying, someone did this, I'm going to do this next, and this is how. That's what we're here for. So with Hollywood Gatekeepers and Hollywood Screenreaders, our success path, we have our own. I'm a huge fan of learning. I'm in like 4 classes right now. I really feel like when you say, oh no, I know that, you're just like, you're cutting off opportunities like that. If you are constantly coming from a place of being curious, of a place of learning, your life will just expand in just the most beautiful of ways. So we have our own success path. We ask those same questions, right? So we started with, and our first step, and we didn't know this was going to be our first step until we started diving in. And we thought our first step was like, we start analyzing screenplays. Our first step is answering that question from the first video. Are you a scam? Is this legit? That is our first step. Our first step is proving that we are sincere. That is number one. And that's what we spend a lot of time doing, is getting people to trust and know us and know that we're here and we're sincere. Our second step is answering and asking questions for you. That's why we ask so many questions. We're like asking questions. Okay, what else do you need and where are we? And so we realize that people write books. Okay, let's bring this person in. Oh, people want to know this, so let's bring that person in. Like, we are constantly asking questions. It's like a big stew of our questions, your questions, and we're kind of figuring it all out, because our main thing is your number three is our number three. I'm getting kind of excited. We want our number three to be the thing that launches you out. The end of our success path is we have people that have had new experiences, that we have changed lives, and we're seeing that start to happen. We're pretty new at this. We've only been around for a little over a year, and so we're just starting to see people take flight, and it's just unbelievably incredible. So we've just had so many great stories, and so now we want to know what your story is. So go into the Facebook page, #SuccessPath, and just jot down, what is it? What are you after? What are you going to do? We want to hear it. Are you going to write that screenplay? Let's do it. Let's do it. So we've had so many great experiences, and in video 3, we're going to kind of put this all together and kind of get you prepared for the masterclass, because we don't go as deep as I did today. We talk about these career things, but I don't explain what each one is, kind of like I did today. So that's why we decided to add these videos on here to make sure that we're trying to answer questions before you even ask them. And in the masterclass, you can sign up here. We have links below. In the masterclass, we are there and we're live, and so you can ask us questions. Typically, people don't have too many questions by the end because I data dump, just like I'm doing right now. So we just, but if you have them, we'll stay as long as it takes to answer any questions that you have. So that's basically what happens in the masterclass. And in video 3, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into kind of what you need to know so that you're ready and you're set to go for the class. So we have had so many great experiences, and we are really looking forward to seeing what your transformation might be, where you're at now. I'd love to, hashtag success path, and then let us know, something that you like or dislike about where you're at. Hashtag success path and let us know where you're going to head up. Hashtag success path and let us know a question. Just have fun with it. It's like, we're here. We want to hear from you. We're super excited about all of it. And we've had so many great experiences. So like, we had one of our screen readers that came through our course. She had never analyzed a screenplay. She's now has decided she's going to work with actors, but she went to the Austin Film Festival. She read for them, and she actually went there and was handing out cards. And she's going to come in and we're going to interview her so you can kind of see. She's delightful, and as she changes, and she's been super hilarious and fun, and she's just made all these discoveries, and we've been right there with her, and she's helped us change too. We've had a producer. This was a huge surprise to us, where we had a producer that decided to take the course, and she came in through the screen reader course, and then she said that the reason that she took it is she was producing a film and had a really hard time talking to the writer about what she needed. She's actually acting and producing in this movie, and she couldn't quite verbalize how she wanted things to work, and she said, oh my gosh, now I have a way that I can speak to them. We didn't think of that when we first created that, so we're going to see if she can come talk as well, so you guys can kind of meet her as well. But that kind of thing, we've had people that have just gone through a little bit of what we're training, and then they go in and they enter a competition with their screenplay or their plays, and they've been successful. So it's like this ripple effect that we're having of people having success in areas that we didn't really even think about. We're just wanting to really create readers that are that champion I can say it, that champion writers and support producers. I mean, is our main mission, that we want to create readers that create coverages that are just smoking, right? Like, that's our main mission. But all these other ripple effects have been happening, where people are learning these things that we didn't really even discover, and they're, we do weekly sessions and people are asking questions, and we're just having a great time. Last week, if you look in the screen readers group, you can see that we talked about balance in your life, like, whole different topics than actually breaking down screenplays, because it's all connected, and we're pretty passionate about that. So this went a little longer than I was hoping, but I really wanted to dive in and kind of give you details about the different paths that you can take. And I'm really sincere and really curious to see where you'll take it. I want to see what your dreams are and how you're going to transform. Super exciting. So definitely sign up for that masterclass. Links are below. Join us in the Facebook group if you haven't already. Hashtag that success path. Let us know where you're at, and we will see you in video number 3. We'll see you there.